10 years, 2,000 leads, and no arrests. The abduction and murders of Lyric Cook Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins in 2012 are never far from the minds of investigators working to bring their killers, to justice. Now that a decade has passed, some might worry the case has gone cold. Far from it, say investigators. On the 10th anniversary of Elizabeth Collins and Lyric Cook Morrissey's death in 2022, investigators spoke to the media and alluded to the use of new technology being used to help find the killer or killers.
Weeks and months following the disappearance of Lyric Cook Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins, we heard regular updates from investigators on the case.
But now, 10 years later, years can go by without any new information. And KCRG TV9's Nicole Agee talked to two investigators still working on the case who say this is still a very active investigation.
In June, we had the opportunity to talk to investigators about the disappearance and murders of Lyric and Elizabeth, and they wanted to reassure us and everyone else that they haven't forgotten about the case and are still following leads.
I've been with the DCI for 24 years, so I've been in my current assignment for 12 years with our Major Crimes Unit.
This is Scott Rieger with the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation.
I was involved pretty early on. So the case obviously originated out of our Cedar Falls office. We had 3 agents back in 2012. The way the DCI works, if you may be familiar with it, maybe you're not, is one of us always gets assigned as case agent responsibilities, and then all the other agents that come in are assisting agents. So I was one of the assisting agents that was there that first weekend, and then worked alongside our case agent, Mike Rorcassi, until he left our department to go be with another law enforcement agency in 2017. And then we just transitioned it over to me because it made sense. I'm still in the area and had worked it with him.
I am a detective with Bremer County Sheriff's Office.
Detective Jason Ellison was assigned to work on this investigation in 2017.
So what is your relationship with the case?
Elizabeth and Lyric were located on December 5th at Seven Bridges Park near Reedland, and that lies in Bremer County. So that involves us in that case.
5 years ago, when there was a transition for you to be representative of Bremer County, what was that transition like? How do you have that continuity that nothing's missed?
Sure. When I came on to the Sheriff's Office in 2015, I knew I was going to be taking over the investigative position. So at that time, I met with the current lead agent for the DCI, along with Bremer County's current investigator, and we went over just kind of an overview of the entire case, and I was provided with the case information to look through on my own. And then in 2017 is when I really got involved with it and started coming to the monthly meetings and work days and started actively investigating along with the other investigators.
How often does this case come up in your day-to-day work?
The tips that come in are sent to an email address, which goes to our investigative team, and so I get eyes on those pretty regularly. So that is the conduit that I most frequently engage with this case. I don't know if I could put a number on it because it's pretty regular. When my phone either rings from Evansdale Police Department or we get a call from another outside agency saying, hey, we've got some information that just came in, it's pretty regular. It's on a weekly basis that something is coming in or my phone is ringing as it pertains to this investigation.
DCI is kind of driving this case, and I'm working with them and investigating it together. So we try to meet at least monthly. That's our goal, is to meet monthly. We set aside a few days and we meet with DCI, FBI, me, analysts from state and federal level. And we try to meet and set aside 2 to 3 days to work on it, see what we've done since the last meeting and what we're going to do going forward. And if there's anything to do on those 3 days as far as interviews or looking through data We do that on those 3 days together.
In the last 10 months, we've had 117 tips come in, and so they're regularly coming in. I'll add the caveat with the 117 that sometimes you'll get 5 different people report the same information because it came up. But we're regularly getting tips, and we evaluate them, and then we determine whether or not we need to allocate resources like investigative follow-up.
When's the last time, without divulging the tip, when's the last time you devoted resources to a tip that's come in?
I'd say within the last month, a tip comes in, and so you start to talk to investigators and go, hey, can you follow up with this person?
Do you tend to see more tips come in on an anniversary of a crime?
We do. Whenever it's aired on the news, we do usually see a little increase in tips. They're not all tips that we can actionably work or do anything with, but we would rather have all the tips we can get and let us sort through it and see what we can work with and what tips aren't able to be worked with.
How does sensitive information compromise what you're trying to do?
So if somebody calls in, and we've had several people over the course of the last 10 years call in and say, or provide information that said, I did this, will confess to have done this. So when we get that information, because sometimes it comes from outside of the state of Iowa where people are unfamiliar with the case, it's crucial for us to be able to go, okay, send an investigator, go do an interview, and let us know what they say, and then we can match what the person is saying with what we know to be true and evaluate whether there's any substance to it. And so that is why we protect those things, is because people will confess to doing bad things and they didn't do it. And it's an unfortunate part. I can't answer the question as to why people would do that, but they do. It's happened in the Evansdale case, and so protecting the integrity helps us be able to vet whether or not people know what they're talking about.
So you've had people call in claiming that they're the ones who killed these girls. Are there advancements in technology in the past decade that will help you in this case?
People often have the idea that in the first 48, it's critical to get on your suspect and things like that, which is true. But what we see over time is the pendulum actually starts to swing back the other way, and time starts to become your ally. As much as you want it to resolve sooner rather than later, time creates advances in technology, things that we're able to do now that we weren't necessarily able to do back in 2012. And so we're readily attuned to those things. We actually get phone calls. This case is so well known on a national level. We have gotten phone calls from private companies or private labs that have said, hey, we've heard about your case. We've developed some new technology. What do you guys think? Can we evaluate it? And so those things are an advantage to us because we want to be aware of those and then see if we can apply those technologies.
What is your message to the person or people who did this?
My message is that we will continue to hit this rock until it breaks. And it sounds like, again, going back to, you have to say this. I firmly believe this. I mean, I live in the community. I have personal investment in seeing this resolved, not just from an investigative standpoint, but I live here. And so we're not going away. This case isn't going away.
Time is on our side now. Time is not on their side. With the advances in technology across the board, and especially in the last 3 years, there's been huge advances, and those are only going to continue, and it's going to work in our favor.
Neither Ellison nor Rieger would comment on suspects, if they ruled anyone out, or how close they feel they are to solving the case. But coming up tonight at 10, we'll share the profile of the person or people they may be looking for and their message to the Evansdale community.